Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me. We are getting into something a little bit different today. So rather than my typical playthrough video here, I wanted to take a minute and actually go through and react to the Halo terminals. So at this point, at the time of this recording, I have finished my Halo 4 playthrough. I got all the parts done. Um, they should all be uploaded by the time you see this one. But before I got into Halo 5, I noticed that there's this idea that Halo 5 has some stuff involved with it where you need to know some background information a little bit. Um, I don't want to look up everything that you need to per se because I don't want spoilers for Halo 5, but I figured what I would do to try and maybe give myself some context here is actually go through all the terminals from the other games and see what kind of information I can get from them. A couple of people have requested that I watched through these, and I wanted to make sure I got to these eventually. I figured this would be a good time now if Halo 5 maybe requires some specific context or something. So I wanted to make sure I go into it with as much information as I can without actually having to look anything up and, potentially kind of spoil the story or some of the events within it for myself, because I want to go through that game with obviously a fresh perspective. So getting into this here now, then we're going to start with the combat evolved terminals. So let's jump into it. Okay. So,
Warning! By order of Ecumen Council, proximity to Installation 04 is forbidden. Your continued presence will result in most unpleasant countermeasures.
I should have figured that in the combat evolved ones that this guy would be around. I actually went through and I skimmed through my other videos to give myself kind of a refresher on the events of the main game before this.
Served as your
Um,
and final warning.
oh, interesting.
I have activated defensive systems, and you now have 30 seconds to return to the minimum safe distance of... Wait. Curious. Curious indeed, after all these years. Greetings, humans, and welcome to Installation 04.
Well, this is fascinating because we didn't get any of this. They never gave us a warning or anything, or this thing.
But you must not exit your ship once you have arrived at the designated landing center. This ring contains significant dangers, and even with your assumed legacy, I must verify the presence and pitch of your gauge before allowing full access. We have much to discuss, humans. I have been away far too long. You have been away far too long.
Okay, well, right off the bat, that's pretty interesting because that puts 343 Guilty Spark in a little bit of a different context where he wasn't necessarily hostile to us, right? If you remember from like the library and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, we were working together, but we didn't really understand why. And that's kind of what this is getting at, it seems like a little bit. It would have been much more of a general, broader kind of welcome, so to speak, rather than just the Master Chief specifically, which is interesting. I don't know. Maybe that would have ended up being kind of the same thing. And then another thing that popped out to me now, I don't know what the GEAS thing stands for, but I gotta assume that's something to do with Cortana and her accessing the facilities of the ring and all the information and stuff like that. Um, which is kind of interesting because eventually, obviously, that kind of happened, right? She did that and got some information, and it wasn't a lot to go off of, but makes sense. It was the first game. But it's interesting here seeing 343 then kind of do the same thing with our ship, right? And you see those flashbacks there with events of human history and stuff like that, which is interesting. And it reminds me a little bit of the Halo 4 cutscene, the one with the librarian. And I got a hunch that some of this is probably going to be related to that information and that background context that cutscene gave. So I'm really curious now getting into the rest of these. Let's go to the next one here.
I am experiencing such a mixture of anticipation and dread. All preparations are complete for my installation. In accordance with the final dictum of the Ecumene Council.
What is the Ecumene? Is that the Ecumene Council?
To my former station.
I don't know what that's. I don't know what that means yet. But this is the Ark, right?
What was could never be again. We had seen
Which is a bit of a jump, unless. Oh, this is the council. I should have figured there'd be more of these fucking cretins.
to distribute the final index collection. It was most unusual to have this vessel of rebirth play host to such an event. Even though Lightworker ships were the only ones still allowed slip space permissions.
Lifeworker, do we know what that is? Is that, like, that's the Forerunners, right? But not really.
One entirely unsatisfactory breakdown remained. We had no contact with the domain.
The domain. Okay.
The history of all Forerunners was now lost to us.
Oh. Don't you hate it when that happens?
Evidence of the domain to preserve our record of the events that led to this point. But without that record, would future civilizations know anything about us? Or only of our weapons?
Oh, that's actually kind of interesting then. So imagine if we had that, then we would understand more about the Forerunners other than just, like I said, they're the weapons, which are the Halo rings, right?
We deserve to be forgotten.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Perhaps. Perhaps. But now, the portal opens, and through it, the familiar shape awaits. Halo. Home.
Hmm. Okay. I don't really have anything to add as far as that one, but...
Construct, who is your maker?
Sadness and disrepair, Oracle. I am unworthy. I was not made.
Never made, but you are right here, where you should not be. Tell your charges to cease their efforts immediately. Quarantine must not be violated.
Okay. Covenant ship.
Construct, respond.
Jumbled grass. Familiar terms. I serve. None
See, I kind of wondered if it would be Cortana, but I don't think that's what this is getting at.
Cease all aggression towards the Reclaimers and leave this installation at once. Construct, you are dangerously close to unleashing a force you cannot comprehend.
Oh, interesting. This gives a little good bit of context to 343 then, in that it's almost like, I mean, obviously he's serving his self-interest here, but in a way it would be helping us by telling the Covenant to not pursue us,
Inappropriate.
right?
we.
And then obviously the whole business with the flood too.
I am part of the stone journey's form that serves. We serve. They will find, and then I will be free.
Find, free, explain yourself.
I know their path, and when they have gone, only I shall remain, and then free.
This is quite unsatisfactory, Construct. Your core shows no hint of understanding the gravity of this situation. I will return later for your proper decommissioning.
Excuse me, guys. Sorry. Not feeling too well. That's why I'm doing this instead of playing Halo 5.
Good day, Construct.
I didn't want to jump into that while I wasn't feeling too well, for obvious reasons. Okay, well, nothing really to add onto that one either. It was interesting. I don't know what the unknown construct's supposed to be. I don't know.
Entropy. It's now been 3,000 years
Excuse
since
me.
my last contact with any of the other caretakers of the Halo array. Despite clear communications protocol, my fellow monitors have either chosen to ignore or, more likely, have lost the ability to engage in our
Interesting. So what if there were more monitors in communication then?
means that we are stuck with achingly slow wormhole superluminal communications. Prior to this total communication shutdown, The only messages I received in the preceding 4,573 years were incomplete and quite perplexing transmissions from Installation 05. I suspected that Monitor 2401 Penitent Tangent was not functioning correctly for some time before his messages ceased. I have logged my concerns about his...
Why do I recognize that name? Did we come across that one?
I'm not sure who I file logs for. 2401 may be destined for madness. There are fail-safes for this, I know. I hope they work. I will continue to visit the projection systems at the assigned dates. Perhaps the other monitors are dealing with interfering galactic phenomena or unexpected system failures. 3,000 years of system failures. Indeed. In the meantime, I have exhausted all scheduled research activities assigned by the Council. Once those experiments were complete, I shut down all Sentinel function and put myself into a state of significant hibernation to measure performance of the installation with negligible upkeep.
Huh. Okay.
After 100
Major and
years,
profound
the
events.
demonstrated impact upon installation systems or integrity. Even in hibernation, I became bored.
Oh, I hate when that happens too.
As I was led to believe I was not capable of such a state. This was one of the gifts I was promised. An end to strife. I am aware of the dangers of a system such as myself losing operational focus. Quite troubling.
It's what an interesting idea that the monitor got bored and then just went and took a walk in the sunshine.
To this installation. For amusement, I have begun a series of experiments involving the evacuation of all matter from contained sections of my installation. By measuring the geologic effects of exposure to the vacuum of space and the eventual biological recovery of these sections, I anticipate getting valuable insight into emergency response scenarios in case of sentient proximity warning.
What does that signify then? Is that why some areas look so weird?
It has been 26 hours since the sentients landed in Sector 1215, and so far, they have not attempted to exit the remains of their vessel. I say remains because
Was that us?
or this vessel lacks significant maneuvering capability. The visible
I'm not sure. It doesn't really look like it.
Structural damage during the violent landing experience. I have detected atmospheric leaks in 17 distinct locations along the hull. My analysis shows that the mixture of gases coming from the ship matches the natural atmosphere on my installation almost exactly. Perhaps the occupants
No, that looks like something else.
were originally cataloged here. Perhaps these beings will confirm that the plan was successful and that the galaxy has returned to its proper cadence. I am beyond optimistic. But I do not understand why these sentients have not attempted to exit their vessel. Other than the leaking atmosphere, the only thing emanating from this wreckage is an automated distress call.
We'll play the distress call.
I am currently translating this automated broadcast, but with such a limited data set and no direct communication, I do not anticipate full comprehension. Given the short-range nature of this craft, it is likely that other vessels are nearby. But, in accordance with procedure, I am blocking the distress call.
Huh.
No communication of the location of any installation is permissible.
Is the implication then that those are humans in some time?
While the plan is quite clear about procedure for this situation, I have my doubts. How many failure points can the
It doesn't look like it, that's the thing.
becomes counterproductive? Surely, in light of all that has changed, I should be able to modify my responses to adapt. No, I have duties.
What's with the green there too? What's that mean?
I must be sure.
Or is it just something
I
within
shall
space?
make and content myself to monitor. I hope they come out soon, though. So many questions to ask. So many questions.
I gotta say, with the art style of these two, this is really well done. This is very different than a lot of things. It does actually remind me of the Halo 4 one a little bit, although I'm not sure if it was exactly the same. Well, nobody ever came out. What the hell?
Until the signal terminated 1 week ago. In accordance with procedure, no attempts at physical or remote contact were made with any survivors.
What a dipshit. He didn't even knock on the door and see if anyone was home. Could have been a waste of time.
Atmosphere from inside the craft stopped venting 2 weeks before the signal ceased. No relationship between these two events can be established with certainty. Gases that did escape were sterilized. No further sign of alien visitors or rescuers has been identified on any sensor systems. I have now endured 60,000 years.
I wonder if the
outside the array.
I wonder if the gases that were coming out were actually
Save the galaxy we destroyed.
not necessarily oxygen, but something that needed oxygen inside there.
Judged for those acts died. To say that I regret being forced to this outcome is a tremendous understatement.
And then they stopped sending the signal because they had all, died.
Before my inspection of the quarantine labs today, I am reminded of the gravity of my responsibilities. Just one of these spores, if released from this facility,
Oh, look at him. There it is.
against our self-appointed role as protectors of this galaxy. When the plan to maintain the Halo array was created, it was a point of some contention whether we should preserve any remnant of the flood infection. Many thought this unwise, as there was a notable chance that one.
So this is interesting then, because they were hanging out on the other Halo 2 in Halo 2, and so this was an intentional choice then to just keep them around. Ugh. God, the Flood are just so damn cool.
And I believe she was correct. I know in a way I cannot logically explain that there exists a way to actually defeat the Flood. To immunize, to cure. I still struggle with multiple layers of memory of fighting the Flood. But I know this cure is possible, even though the full genius of the
A cure for the Flood, interesting.
The Forerunner's ancient enemy held and used that knowledge once, but it was denied to us. And without samples for further study, that cure will never.
So the humans found a cure to the Flood,
Of
or
course, I have
to
no
some
reason to
extent.
believe that here lies the entirety of the parasite.
And the Forerunners never did. Interesting.
Boy beyond this
I'm guessing that has something to do with the big battle that was in the Librarian cutscene. Or, that conflict.
I don't know what survives out beyond my installation. But I know that in order for anything to survive, I have to protect this installation and its quarantine very carefully. Yes, the librarian was right to store it, examine it.
Oh, that's why they wanted to keep it, in case it ever actually came out for other reasons or showed up again, that you could study it and find a cure and then it wouldn't matter. Okay, I see. I can see where that makes sense.
Alone. Alone, 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 alone. Am I the only intelligence left? Waiting here on this ring for a rebirth never truly conceived. Guarding a weapon with no targets. A weapon I could tune to any target. This is not what I had in mind when I.
Oh, I don't like the sound of that.
Not what I had in mind at all. I was naive to think I understood what this installation meant. We were all so naive. Looking back, we should have done a few things differently. For one thing, we should have installed 2 caretakers per installation.
Ah, he's just lonely, just wants a friend, and then we came along.
I'm losing focus, and that is very, very dangerous for a system such
Yeah, but what happens if there's two of them and then they conflict with one another? Like they want to do separate things.
My impulse drives could certainly make the journey. A few hundred years of travel might do me some good.
Oh, there you go. Go take a vacation, Guilty
There
Spark.
it was again. How very unproductive of me. It seems strange that the librarian did not account for this. Her strength was always in planning and positioning the pieces and then being bold enough to let it happen. To let her plans come true. I was a part of many of those plans, long before I knew for certain that she was real, before any of us were. But at the end, we had only a fragment of her brilliance left to us, and I fear that she did not fully appreciate the nature of my situation here, the problems it might pose. But even a fragment, yes. Oh dear, here it comes again.
Seems like Guilty Spark is losing his mind a little bit.
25,000 light years? That is the effective range of this installation. According to the
Which is
stars,
interesting because that wasn't really present in the game, at least the first game. I mean, kind of by the end of the third one, sure, but
sustaining biological sentient life within that 25,000 light year range. In reality, it may be significantly more than that. And if the full array was tuned and activated by installation 00, the harmonics of the overlapping waves would
I'm gonna assume 00 is the arc.
cascading to cover every known star system. And that only considers the firing of a mere 7 halos. And the original 12 rings survived to see use.
12 rings. Christ.
Far farther than most forerunners ever feared we could reach.
Oh no, not the poor lizard.
But even with just 7 rings, we were able to destroy every side of the planet. And every other sentient creature along with it. This victory was the will of our people, despite the fact that it meant our own end as well. But by our pyrrhic measurement, it was a victory, and cleared the stage for the rest of the librarian's plan. I sometimes wonder whether the didact could have succeeded at a much smaller cost. I learned the folly of opposing him personally, and his brilliance was unsurpassed, except perhaps by her own. He never got the chance to fully execute his proposal. The council saw to that. But if something were to go wrong with one of the halos, if our tools were ever turned against us, long plans, indeed.
So I wanna talk about that one a little bit more. So like the didact had something else in mind other than so I'm gonna I what I take from this is that the Halo rings were by the rest of the Forerunners and perhaps the Librarian, I don't know, individually. And then the didact was against it, but we don't know why. He had something he had in mind that would have had a smaller cost, they said. But we don't know what that is yet, right? Okay.
I forgot something.
Oh,
What?
keys.
My
I haven't seen you for a while.
I forgot. Oh, keys. Jacob. Captain. Service number 01928-19912-JK. What is that noise? What is that damn noise? Where am I? Covenant.
Oh, this is him in the when he was being transformed there.
Jacob.
Oh God.
God, it hurts. This will never work, you covenant bastards. I'll never lead you to Earth. Keys. Jacob. Captain. Service number 01928 dash 19912 dash JK. Oh God, you don't want Earth, you want everything. Get out of my head.
Oh, the grave mind. Ugh.
Miranda.
Oh, I forgot about her too.
No, please, don't let me forget. Keys. Jacob. Captain. Service number 1928-19912-JK.
No more what you were. Memories. Emotions. All is now ours.
Keys. Jacob. Captain. Service number 01928-19912-JK. You will not have me.
We already do.
Uh. Okay, well that was the best one yet. It was also the weirdest one yet. See, this is what I've missed in the last couple of the games. I just think the Flood is so fucking cool as like an enemy because of what they are and what they can do. And I've never seen a better demonstration of the grotesque nature of them. Like in the games, the Flood, especially when they were first introduced, were kind of scary, right? But part of that fear that you get from them is because of the implications they have on the story, the gravity and the stakes involved. And that's pretty much a great demonstration of why, right? I couldn't have asked for a better um kind of display of the horror that is the Flood, right? Of taking over somebody in a very psychological and also physical way, right? And making and transforming them, right? To be a Flood thing. I don't know what they're called specifically, a Flood form or whatever, right? And interestingly, it said the proto grave mind. So like, and I'm trying to remember if there was something about this, but like the grave mind is just like a bit. It's just a lot of things together. Like that's what a grave mind is with the Flood. It just happens to be when enough things become one kind of form. And so I'm going to assume then by the name of proto grave mind that's basically the precursor to a grave mind, right? Or either that or it becomes part of the grave mind that we saw in Halo 2. And then they got like a hive mind and they're all just kind of connected, which also, I mean, it's essentially the same result, right? It's just that everything becomes a hive mind when it's integrated into one form, right? Which is the Flood. And that one was going through keys specifically, which is great because we didn't need that in Combat Evolved. Like illustrating that process and what it actually looks like to the person involved. We didn't need that in Halo 1 because it was already frightening enough. as is. But throwing in this as some context then really, to me, just illustrates how cool the Flood are as an enemy, and how the stakes that they place on the story, and how it's so, like, I understand why they're not around anymore for, like, the other games. Like, I think I said this in my Halo 4 playthrough, where, like, them being in Reach and them being in ODST makes sense. Like, I understand why they don't have the Flood in there. Halo 4 not having the Flood was fine, but I'm kind of hoping that the other games maybe do. I understand why they probably won't, because I thought the whole point was we got rid of them in Halo 3. But it would be really cool if they did bring them back, and this is why. Because they're just such a fascinating enemy, and they just have such an impact on the story that nothing else really quite gets at in the same way, right? And that's really interesting to me as far as the impact it has on the Halo story and as an enemy, right? Not just in cutscenes and the broader sense, but also in game too, right? For gameplay purposes, that the Flood are pretty fun to fight too, as well. So, anyways, getting into the next one here. So now, with that being said, then, okay, I was gonna say, are we going back to 343 then? Um,
100,000 years protecting the galaxy's future. 100,000 years spent fearing that our sacrifices, my sacrifice, was in vain.
oh, well, now there's us.
And 16 hours after I finally made contact. This so-called reclaimer decides to blow it all up. Oh, I am not pleased. Just as I finally discovered that our plan to save the galaxy succeeded, the ancient enemy is unleashed once more. Why these reclaimers refuse to follow protocol is quite mystifying. Destroy my installation, will they? I shall renew efforts to make contact with the other rings immediately. This covenant may be useful to me.
So this must be in the aftermath of Combat Evolved then.
Still, it makes no difference to me what they believe, as long as they do what must be done. I sound like her. Oh, but what I would not give to have even a single company of Prometheus here right now. Oh, they would most certainly restore order with their trademark lethality. Although, that would mean he would have to be here too. And without the librarian around to temper his rage, well, these reclaimers might almost prefer the Flood.
Now this is kind of getting interesting, because I wonder if, I don't know, I think that's supposed to implicate the Didact in all this, but it's interesting. Okay, so this is, okay, so here's where I was right. Now here's the actual destruction of the ring. So what is 343 gonna go fucking fly off now and take his vacation? And there he goes.
Quite unacceptable.
And there's us. See you later. Oh. Why didn't this occur to me? I forgot about this. This is Halo 2 now. So he went and flew to that thing. I don't know what it was called, but it was like a station or something.
Greetings. I am 343 Guilty Spawn.
Oh, they're looking at it like, what the fuck are you doing here? Oh, okay, I forgot about that too.
Creature.
Ooh.
I offer you my life as amends for this dishonor. An oracle of the gods should never suffer such impertinence from vermin like this. I shall cast them all into the mists below for daring such a blasphemy, and...
Oh my. Your people have grown so dramatic in the last 100,000 years. But please, no more deaths are required. We will need all the forces we can muster if the flood escape the destruction of my installation. I must speak to your commander immediately.
Glorious day. The prophets will be pleased that we have rescued an oracle from the human
So this is the
violation of
heretic
holy
leader then.
temple.
Why do you keep calling it a temple? My installation was a weapon, and one which we needed very, very badly.
But oracle, I do not understand. We were told the ring was our salvation. A gateway to paradise.
Told? By whom? Anyone who told you that is either a fool or quite mad. That installation was a beautiful tool, designed to destroy everything the flood might feed on.
Everything.
Oh, quite everything. And if even one flood spore survived the destruction of my ring, then protocol demands that all nearby sentient life must immediately be destroyed. An outbreak of the flood cannot be allowed to take place. But I am wasting our time. Surely you know all of this already.
Communications. Shut down all lines to the fleet. We will not notify the prophets of our discovery until I hear everything this oracle has to say.
I will gladly share what I am permitted, but we have little time. What has been unleashed here could destroy everything you have ever known.
On that oracle, we are in agreement.
Well, we'll call it there for the combat evolved terminals. So with that last one there, before I kind of get into them overall, with the last one there, um, is the urgency from the monitor because he's afraid that like remnants of the flood are gonna fall down from the destroyed ring? I see. I didn't realize how close that thing was to the original combat evolved ring. I figured it was some kind of distance away in Halo 2, and there wasn't really such a close connection to the original combat evolved ring. I don't know. That's kind of interesting to me. Uh, Definitely, it does make me wonder a little bit then about what that location is, and maybe that'll be explained in the Halo 2 terminals. But it makes me wonder kind of what that location actually is, because it's obviously connected to the ring in some capacity. I think they might have said something like a research station, or I don't know exactly, but like there's flood in that facility in Halo 2. That's part of what the gameplay and stuff is. So the fact that they were on the ring originally, and maybe the monitor is afraid that they're going to come to this new place, but like they're already at the new place, or so I assume, because like that's kind of what we saw. I think that's what we saw in Halo 2, right? Where they were like in containers and stuff like that. So that's a little bit confusing to me. I'm going to hold off on judgment for anything with that until I see the Halo 2 terminals, because that probably, I'm guessing that'll explain some shit. So bear with me on that. Now, as far as the rest of these go here, this is pretty interesting that they all but one of them took the perspective of the monitor, which I can say makes the most sense if what they're trying to do is build up information surrounding the Forerunners and everything like that, because the monitor is one of the few things that is connected to any of that we know, and that can like speak, right? That can communicate information to us, the viewers. So like that makes sense to me then to go from his perspective and talk about these kinds of things. It's weird though to me that like a lot of it had to do more about the characterization of the monitor itself, which is fine. I'm not opposed to that per se. Thing is though, is just like at the end of the day, the monitor is already dead. So like how much am I supposed to really care about any of that? Cuz it's kind of hard to overlook, and it's like I said, to some capacity it's interesting to me, right? To see that kind of character development. But at the end of the day, I figured I'd be going into these looking for some more information about the Forerunners, the Halo rings, right? Maybe the Prometheans, the Flood, like all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's there. It is. And it's very good. It's just not a lot of that helps me as far as Halo 4 and what I assume then was, Halo 5 going into that. Like, this kind of information is only somewhat related to the events of Halo 4, right? And primarily like the things with the library cutscene where it gives context to the background of the conflict between the Forerunners and the Prometheans, or the humans, and then there's the Flood in there and all that kind of stuff. It's basically just a little bit more of that, but not quite on the head with it for most of it. Some of it was really good at that, admittedly, and I'm making connections. I'm obviously very glad I watched these because it does help with some kind of context. I think for me the highlight though was the one with Captain Keyes, which is weird because it's the only one that's not related to basically any of the other ones. It doesn't talk about the Forerunners, it doesn't talk about the Halo rings, it doesn't talk about the Covenant, right? All it is a demonstration of the effects of the Flood and how they transform living things, right? And using Keyes, which is a character we know and that at least I kind of care about, right? To convey that information, right? In a very kind of, I don't know how to, intrusive way. Maybe I'll say that. Because it's literally infecting him and taking him over, right? And he's having to deal with that, and he's forgetting. It's interesting again with the hive mind idea of the Flood is Keyes is losing his sense of identity. He's losing his memories. He's losing who he is, and he's becoming part of the grave mind, which is just everything, right? So it's no longer Keyes. Keyes is just one extra, sack of flesh there into the proto grave mind. Poor bastard. Like, I mean, that to me, see, and this is the thing though. This is what's interesting with these terminals, and I'm really curious now moving forward with the other ones. Between at least 2 and 4, I think maybe Halo 3 had some terminals too. I'll have to check out. But it's like that one's not related to anything as far as anything really in particular, right? It's really just fleshing out, no pun intended, like some of the things within Combat Evolved, which didn't really need explanation, right? Which was Keyes' succumbing to the Flood, right? It's not related to anything from Halo 4. I'm going to assume it's not related to anything from Halo 5, right? It's not related to the Forerunners or even the Monitor, the Halo ring, none of that shit. And yet, to me, it was the best one. So, I don't know. Really makes me wonder. I'm pretty excited actually to get into the rest of these terminals now and see what kind of, and another thing too, with like I said, there's with the art style too. These are visually interesting to look at. That's also very important. It's not just the information that they're kind of giving us, it's how they do it. These are really well done. I'm glad I watched this. Thank you for whoever recommended I watch these. I'm gonna get to the Halo 2 ones here next in the next video. I'm gonna break these up a little bit because this is actually longer than I thought it was gonna be. But those are kind of my thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think about this one. It was very good to react to these. Looking forward to doing the rest of them as far as at least Halo 2 and Halo 4. There's not an option for Halo 3 here, but I do know that there's something with terminals in Halo 3, so I'll have to check that out maybe in a separate thing. But let me know what you think about this one, and the style of these videos. I don't mind making react content like this. It's very similar to my playthroughs. It's just I'm not playing the game is all. So that's all I got for this one, guys. Thanks for watching.